The bright studio lights of the Today Show were warm against Valerie Bertinelli's skin as she settled into her chair, smiling politely at the audience. She had done countless interviews throughout her career, but today felt different. There was a buzz in the studio, a tension she couldn't quite name. Hoda Kotb leaned forward with her usual warm expression, holding a stack of blue cue cards. But Valerie noticed something in her eyes, something a little sharper than the cheerful tone she used to greet the viewers. "Valerie," Hoda began, "you've been so open lately about your personal life, your struggles, your transformation, and people admire that. Honesty." She paused just long, enough for Valerie to sense a shift. "But some critics say you've used your vulnerability as, well, a brand." The smile on Valerie's face froze. There was a murmur from the off-camera crew. Valerie blinked once, twice. This wasn't the gentle conversation she'd been briefed for. She straightened her posture. "A brand?" Valerie repeated, keeping her voice calm. "I share my life because it helps people feel less alone." "I understand," Hoda said, but her tone changed. "But don't you think it's convenient that every personal crisis lines up with a book release or a product launch?" Even the audience reacted to that. Soft gasps and shifting in seats. Valerie inhaled slowly. "Hoda, that's unfair. I've lived my entire life in the public eye. If I share something painful, it's because it's real, not because it's marketable." Hoda didn't back down. "But isn't real honesty the kind that isn't packaged?" That was the moment the atmosphere changed completely. Valerie felt heat rising in her cheeks. She'd expected curiosity. She hadn't expected confrontation. And something inside her clicked. Valerie leaned forward now, the politeness slipping away. "Hoda, if you're accusing me of exploiting my own trauma, just say it." The studio went silent. Hoda shifted slightly, sensing the escalating tension but refusing to retreat. "I'm saying people want authenticity. And sometimes, it feels like you're performing vulnerability instead of experiencing it." Valerie felt as though she'd been slapped. "For decades," she said slowly, "I've dealt with loss, heartbreak, insecurity, and public scrutiny. I never pretended to be perfect. I never pretended to be untouched by pain. But performing it?" Her voice sharpened. "Do you think I want people to know how much I've suffered?" Hoda opened her mouth, but Valerie continued before she could. "You sit here," Valerie said, "and ask for honesty from guests. But when someone gives you honesty, raw honesty, you question the sincerity behind it. What do you want from me? Tears on cue? A breakdown to boost the segment's views?" Hoda exhaled sharply. "That's not what I'm asking, Valerie. I'm asking if you're aware of the way your stories are timed." "That's enough," Valerie interrupted. The audience was frozen, eyes darting between the two women like they were watching a live boxing match. Hoda reached for the next card, trying to steer the conversation back toward safer territory. But Valerie wouldn't allow it. "No," Valerie said, louder now. "We're not skipping past this. You questioned my integrity, my authenticity, my grief. You questioned everything I've fought through." "Valerie, do you even hear yourself, Hoda? You're acting like vulnerability only counts if it's kept hidden, like speaking up somehow diminishes its truth." Hoda's face tightened. And then it happened. Valerie pushed back her chair, stood up, and the microphone on her collar yanked slightly as she turned away from the table. The camera crew scrambled, unsure whether to cut to commercial or keep rolling. A producer waved frantically from behind the glass window, but nobody knew what to do. Valerie stood at the edge of the set, breathing hard, trying to calm the storm inside her chest. She could hear Hoda calling after her. "Valerie, wait. Don't walk off. We can finish this." But Valerie had reached her limit. She turned back, not returning to her seat but standing tall, her voice steady despite the tremor in it. "You invited me here to talk about healing, about growth, about the journey I've been on. Instead, you treated my pain like a marketing strategy." Hoda swallowed hard. "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," Valerie snapped. "And maybe you don't realize how many people sit at home hoping someone, anyone in the public, I will say, hey, I've been through that too. I talk about my life because people suffer in silence, and silence nearly destroyed me." The audience watched, transfixed. "I'm human," Valerie said, her voice breaking just enough to reveal the truth beneath her anger. "Not a headline, not a segment, not a performance. For a moment, Hoda looked genuinely shaken. Not angry, hurt. She opened her mouth to apologize, but Valerie shook her head. I don't want an apology on camera. That's not what this is about. She took a deep breath. I just want to be treated like a person. The weight of those words settled across the studio, and then Valerie gently removed her microphone, set it on the table, and said quietly but firmly, I'm done. Gasps rippled through the audience as she turned and walked off the set, heels clicking sharply against the polished floor. The camera caught one last glimpse of her disappearing. Behind the curtain before the screen, abruptly, cut to a commercial. Back at the table, Hoda stared after her, stunned. The usually unshakable morning show host looked visibly shaken, her hands clasped tightly together. No one spoke. No one moved. Because everyone knew they had just witnessed one of the most dramatic walk-offs in Today Show history.